he was just amazing, and he was incredible for the vast majority of the season. Tailed off a little bit towards the end, but that's understandable. And we get 2 more years of him, and that's great.
Yeah, it's all really exciting, and it's sort of been a strange, I guess, couple of years pre this one with Mo Salah, because I think we almost got to like I don't know like what's the equivalent of like voters fatigue, but just with like as a fan, the way you perceive a player. I think we saw the back end of Sadio Mane's career, and Sadio Mane was always so loved, and there was always that kind of, you know, almost Trent versus Robertson friendly rivalry that they had in the team of, you know, who was scoring the goals at any given moment. But the brilliant thing about having Sadio Mane and Mo Salah together is that, you know, there's always one of them scoring the goals, even if it wasn't quite always both of them at times. Always one of them would be. And then we lost Mane. We lost Firmino shortly off the back of that as well. And suddenly, like, you're almost just fixated on Salah as part of that old guard, but then we bring in all these new lads as well, like Gakpo, Diaz and Nunez, and you sort of, you know, willing them on to do well. Jota's sort of bridging the gap between those two areas as well. But you almost forget just how good Mo Salah is. And it's funny, like, you know, this season he's obviously been one of his best individual seasons, which, you know, takes some doing considering some of the individual seasons he's had. But you look at the numbers from the past few seasons, you're like, oh, they actually weren't that bad after all. Like, I don't know what we were all sort of convincing ourselves was happening. I think his game was definitely evolving, and maybe that resulted in, you know, him not quite being exactly where Liverpool wanted him to be on the pitch. I imagine that was partly tactical with what Klopp and Pep Linders were looking to do at the back end of their time at the club as well. Suddenly Slot comes in, suddenly he's back from, sort of to my mind at least, you know, more between the goal posts, or at least in the right positions where, you know, that sort of trademark Mo Salah goal that we thought we'd lost can be scored again, because it felt like he scored a couple more of them this season. So as you say, like, so exciting that off the back of one of his best individual seasons, probably in the sort of top 3 of his individual seasons for me, we're going to get to, you know, if not see 2 more of this exact season, then see 2 more brilliant ones, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, because it's funny, because I think Arne Slot's already said that, listen, we shouldn't expect this sort of next season, but even if he drops a little bit, it'll still be fantastic, and he'll still be delivering so much. And you're completely right, Josh, what you said before, where he made 25 goals a season look ordinary, and you know, he'd post a low 20s, and you'd be like, oh, you know, so season from Mo, which is like crazy. And so he is held to his own very high standards, and he probably holds himself to incredibly high standards. I'm sure he does, but we now hold him to really high standards because he's delivered. But he exceeded those. Even your own ridiculous idea of what Mo Salah should do in a season, he went beyond that this year, and that's a phenomenal thing.
Yeah, and like it's the assists, I think, that have jumped out so much more to me this season, because I know assists is a little bit of a funny stat, isn't it? Because it literally requires the fella who you're kicking it to then kick it in the goal. But, you know, it felt like over the past few seasons, while his goals, and I don't have the stats exactly to back this up, but I believe this is sort of trajectory, while his goals were dropping slightly, his assists were going up, and that I think was sort of, you know, symptomatic of that evolution in his game, of that sort of deliberate tactical evolution that Klopp and Linders were going through with him. And I think you've seen this season that Slot has really managed to get Mo into a sweet spot where he can be that creator and be the best creator in the Premier League, but he can also be the goal scorer that he, you know, so desperately wants to be, because he still chases all the individual accolades, doesn't he? And I think, like, again, with the Mane thing before, we lived through a time where we genuinely had members of the media trying to tell us that Salah was a selfish player, or that, you know, when there was a bit of a back and forth between them at Burnley away, we were meant to see that as anything other than just like elite mentality from the two of them. Mo Salah proves time and time again that his pursuit of individual accolades and all these kind of, you know, records and stuff is entirely in pursuit of, you know, team success as well. The individual success doesn't come without the team success, and vice versa. So yeah, I'm so pleased for Mo. So pleased that we get to watch him for another few years. Just more goals and assists, please, Mo. If you are watching, and less bread and bagels and trumpets. I'll do that bit for you. You do the goals and assists.
It's all about sharing the load. You know, spreading these things out.
Yeah, I know players, bagel eaters, the two things.
Exactly, equally important. I've just got the stats up because, like I said, it's been a couple of weeks / months since the season finished. 29 goals just in the Premier League, but as Josh says, 18 assists, which is phenomenal, and all his assists tend to be belters. There's very little of that, 1 yard pass to somebody that takes on 3 men and scores. He's the fella who's taking on 3 men and scoring. So absolutely brilliant assists, brilliant performances from him all season, and yeah, no arguments whatsoever with him being number 1. But who else is in the top 5? Josh Sexton?
I'm going to guess that Virgil van Dijk is up there.
Yeah, he's number 3. Virgil van
Ooh,
Dijk.
okay.
So he is number 3, and you almost feel like he should get extra points for his leadership because it has been so impressive throughout the year. And both players that you've mentioned so far, that and we've talked about so far, have obviously had the contract situation going on throughout the year, seem to genuinely not know quite far into the season where they were going to be playing next year, but the professionalism was spot on. The commitment to the cause was unbelievable, and Virgil, especially as captain, I think deserves a lot of credit for that, really, because he was a complete team player throughout the whole thing, and how well he leads, the extra ounces he gets out of, especially as centre-half partner, but I would argue that the whole defence and really probably the team as well is just brilliant. And so when you've got a player whose level is that high, but they're also able to get more out of others, it's some asset to the team.